everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We've certainly missed you. The 2 days off are always a stretch. I mean, they're well-deserved rest, and it's good in that regard, but it's also good to, to get back at it and get back in the saddle. And we're absolutely thrilled to be here. When I say we, I don't mean just me. I mean me and my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
My shadow.
That's right, my shadow. How's it going, Shadow?
Settle down, Peter.
Yeah.
Doing good. Guess what?
What?
Hump day.
It's hump day, ladies and gentlemen. You have made it past that midweek point.
Oh, thank God.
I know, right? I know. But it's it's hopefully a good day for y'all, and hopefully you're all set for the downhill slide into Friday, and with the whole Thursday bump on the way. But other than that, hope you're all having a wonderful week. Thank you again for joining us here on the portal. As always, hour number 2, the call board will be open. If you want to call in and be a part of the show, you can certainly do that. But wait till the second hour, please, because we got lots of stuff to cook through, and none of it's quick and easy. I should put myself back on this camera. There I am.
Oh, there you are.
It was just a lot of you, Don.
A lot of me. It's all about me.
It should be.
It's all a lot of me.
In fact, maybe I could just be a voice of the show, and you could be the face.
No, no, that wouldn't work.
That wouldn't work. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, then.
Trying to enhance your presence here on the portal. But, yeah, folks, we got a great show lined up for tonight. We're going to do some creatures of the shadows, the mystical Dogman, a couple few things about them, some little people, and a bunch of other fun and joyous stuff that we love to cover here on the show, as always, like the news and such. So we got a full boat of information to ship your direction throughout the course of our journey.
Hopefully we don't get stuck in the Suez Canal.
No, absolutely not. But you know what? We'll just get a hold of Yuri.
Yeah.
Yuri Geller can mind force us out of there. That weirdo. If you're not familiar with that story, ladies and gentlemen, recently on the Yuri Geller's been kind of like trying to resurface. He's like if you're not familiar with who he is, he's like this person of the 70s that was spoonbender and stopping watches and stuff. And there may be something to it, maybe not. I don't know. But he's all about still trying to stay relevant. So he's inserting himself into everything going on. And he's just kind of a publicity pig is all I can say. And it's kind of disgusting. It's just like, get graceful and just fade. Just fade gracefully,
Fade away.
Yeah. Talking about your generation. All right. So anyway, that's just how we cook it here in the portal. Welcome to the show. If you're new, thank you for giving us a shot. We hope that you like what you hear and you become part of the family as well. I saw a Ghost Magnet 81, and that one is new to me.
I've seen it a couple times. I've seen that particular person a couple times now.
Okay. Well, anybody that's new, thank you for coming in and giving us a shot. And
as a matter of fact, Ghost Magnet says, I thought he was dead. No, he sued Pokemon. He sued.
Yeah, he even had a lot. Yeah, Don was saying that he had a lawsuit against Pokemon because apparently he had a spoonbender Pokemon that he was trying to attack them, and then he's recently dropped that and apologized for his behavior. But what an idiot! I don't know. That's all I can say, and I don't like to cast aspersions at anyone, but some people just really. They just need that one right up from the buttons up to the chin. It's like,
oh boy.
He's kind of one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. He raises my ire because he's such a publicity pig. I mean, he's just trying to get so much attention. It's just like, go away, go. That was good. You bent spoons for a while. We saw it. Cool. That next. I don't know.
David Blaine.
Oh, it was the Cadabra. Is that the one? Was that the one? Peter Turk says Cadabra.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably it. I don't know. Yeah, whatever one. Yeah, David Blaine, Chris Angel. Yeah. Well, I don't see Yuri going up and floating over buildings or anything. So till he cooks something like that up, I'm just not that interested. So
he's rocket powered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he can bend his spoons and climb up the side of buildings or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's just a little caveat of stupid information that has no relevance to the actual show tonight. What the hell? What?
Rachel says Yuri Geller's new scented candle smells like mind power, sage, and sweaty forehead.
With a little pit. Just a little pit thrown in there. He's a little musky, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how he's smelling these days, but I don't know. God, I think I have something that I want to be saying, but I can't remember what it is. I guess the first thing I want to do, though, is right off the bat, I want to read a listener submission.
Oh.
We haven't done one of these for a while
Nice.
because I usually save them for the podcast, but I told this person I would read it tonight. And this is from listener Dylan, and Dylan or something is how you say the name, I guess. But he says, I want to share a story. Said several years ago, my wife and I rented a half double home in a quiet neighborhood, and I decided one afternoon to take a walk and explore the neighborhood. I told my wife I should only be a half an hour or so. I got about 5 blocks away and turned a corner, and there in a lot was the remains of a house in ruins down to its foundation. Well, I suddenly got a feeling of doom and urgency. I turned and ran back to my house as fast as I could. I bolted through the door, and there my wife was about to light some incense, as there was a smell she couldn't identify in the house. I knew immediately what it was and screamed to drop the lighter. She did. She was standing next to the stove.
Oh.
And the smell was a natural gas leak coming from it. The house I saw in ruins was, in my opinion, a warning. I managed to shut the valve off, and tragedy was avoided. Wow. How is that for amazing?
Yeah, no doubt.
That is just incredible. That's one of those 1 in a million stories, but thank God, because if he had been any slower, she would have struck that match or the lighter and kaboom,
Wow.
That's so unforgiving. So very, very cool. I'm so glad somebody was there and helped you through that and gave you the warning you needed. And I'm so glad that you got it. I think perhaps we do get those warnings. It's just a lot of times we don't really interpret them right, maybe,
Right.
or they don't come through our filters right because we're, in our own world usually. But anyway, very cool.
Wow.
And thank you so much for sending that in. I love your guys' stories. Now, he's got other activity going on, including finding prints and stuff around and some cool structures. But we'll get into that another time where, I haven't asked him permission about showing those kind of things. So I just wanted to share that. But it looks like I don't know where he's at exactly, but there's a lot going on around there. So very cool. I love those stories. But that brings us to our next section of the show, which is, well, I guess I could finish the intro, right? Hey, hope you guys are ready because it's time to get creepy. I'm a little rusty. All right, here we are, Don.
So that was like a little hors d'oeuvre.
That was a little nugget.
Yes, nice.
Little love nugget bringing us into the show. A little bit of paranormal goodness to lead us right into all this other coolness that we're going to be covering tonight. Let's see. What do you think, Don?
I try not to. People start to expect things once that happens.
Once they know you're actually thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, don't set any precedents now.
Most of the time, I'm just kind of like, what?
Just think, there's spoon benders and there's spoon lickers.
As long as it's got ice cream on it, I'm all over it.
Well, how about we do the news?
News?
The news.
The news.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal newscast, and this is where we cover all kinds of weirdness that sometimes qualifies as news, sometimes it qualifies as paranormal news, and sometimes it just qualifies as what the hell's going on here.
Meh.
Today, I think it's mostly benign, some weirdness, but nothing too over the top. Let's see, the first one, yeah, I know. I don't know what this dude's thinking, but that is creepy as hell.
Certainly not me.
No. No, I think you've been cleared as far as I know.
He's about 40 pounds too heavy.
So this is one coming out of unexplained-mysteries.com. Police seek the identity rather.
Identity?
That look like an F. No, I'm just kidding.
What are you, Gus from Cinderella?
Sure.
The identity.
Inconceivable. Identity of a masked slender man. So it's a masked slender man. I guess it does kind of look like a slender man.
Sure.
It says an eerie masked individual has been captured on security camera in South Carolina neighborhood. When was this? 7th of April. So it's just today.
Oh, it was March 24th. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Read the next line.
Oh, okay. On March. I'm like, wow, Don, you're going all Yuri on me here. Are you using your mental powers? Wow. On March 24th, the mysterious interloper, who was wearing a creepy white mask with holes for the eyes and nose, showed up unexpectedly outside a house in Sumter's Meadowcroft subdivision. His or her appearance scared the residents of the house, according to a sheriff's office, sparking an ongoing police hunt to identify and apprehend the individual responsible. A CCTV snapshot of the intruder, later posted on social media, quickly sparked a flurry of comments, with users likening their appearance to that of Slender Man, which I don't understand at all. No. A fictitious entity invented on an internet forum, who typically appears as a very tall, thin individual with a black suit and no face.
No face.
The character has been the subject of numerous creepypasta stories over the last few years. However, this is the first time that someone who resembles him has turned up on a wanted posting.
Oh,
could the suspect have been pulling a prank, or was he planning to break into the house? The search for answers continues.
Continue.
It does, apparently. I don't know. It's just some idiot. Yeah. That's really weird.
Yeah.
I
think
that's a good way to get shot.
Yeah, well, for sure there.
Yeah. What a knucklehead. Wow. Okay.
Less the slender man, more the pig-nosed fella.
Could be the well-ventilated man pretty good, with the right homeowner.
Well-ventilated. Yeah, all those 223s.
Yeah. Or, big 12-gauge slugs. Just cut him in half. He'd be half Slender Man. There you go. I don't know.
He's even half the weight.
Yeah. What an idiot. Okay, well, that guy's probably going to wind up dead if he doesn't change his ways. But anyway, because apparently he's not very good at it anyway. So he picks a dumb costume, and he's not good at it. So that's just not a good career choice for that guy. Aussie Tiger says, sometime between now and Sunday, I'm going to run out of data, so I'll have to call in just to listen. Just thought I'd give you the heads up about it.
Sure, okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, just call into the call-in line, and I'll see your number there and just let you sit. That's cool. No worries, brother. All right, the next story is coming from, I think this is a great story. And, of course, nobody's been hit harder in North America, I think, in many ways, than the First Nations tribes, who lost ancestral lands just by the colonization and stuff. Now, I'm not over the top about it, but of course, I don't think anybody could look at that situation and think they were treated anyway fairly at all. It was just horrible. But this is kind of an encouraging story, and this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. First Nations win fight to reclaim Ogopogo. This is Tuesday, 6th of April, 2021. The copyrights of Canada's famous lake monster legend has been transferred to the Silks Okanagan Nation.
Sure.
The elusive lake beast, which is said to reside in the depths of the Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, is a popular legend in the region. But in recent years, disagreements have arisen over who exactly it is that owns the copyright, and in what way is it acceptable to commercialize it. While the Ogopogo monster can be found today in books, tourist merchandise, and more, its origins lie much further back in time, and the legend being an integral part of the Canadian First Nations folklore. It's not surprising, then, that some of the local indigenous communities were not too pleased when the city of Vernon, which has held the copyright since 1956, granted a children's author the right to publish a book using the monster's name as the title. The rights had been originally passed to the city by local reporter, which came as something of a surprise to the nearby First Nations who did not know such an arrangement had ever existed. We equated it to someone taking ownership over the Bible and suddenly copyrighting the name Moses, said Chief Byron Lewis of the Okanagan Indian Band. The idea that someone can take ownership of your teachings and your religious beliefs, and is absolutely unacceptable. Fortunately, once the word of the matter got out, the local council, following a vote, finally took the decision to transfer the copyright to the Syilx Okanagan Nation. It's much more than simply a gesture, said Lewis. It's the city saying, this is not ours, this is yours. Oh, okay. Well, at least they figured it out some point, and that's good. So they got the rights to that returned to them, which is cool. I mean, to them it means so much more, but I think to the city it just meant tourists.
Right.
And they can still, I'm sure, promote that.
Well, yeah.
You know,
I'm pretty sure that particular
region.
Yeah, the tribe there can pretty much do all the marketing it needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think so, but that's kind of cool. Feel good story.
Go away.
I don't think so either, but I think this is like the second story now I've heard of tribes restoring some of their old rights, and I think the other one was in Oregon. Didn't they get some land returned to them? I think so, and that was really cool. That they got some ancestral land returned, and they were really excited because it had a big part to do with their culture for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then was stripped away from them. Well, they just got it back, so that was really cool. So I like these stories. They make me feel happy, or happier. Not that I'm struggling to feel happy, but you know what I mean. It's just nice to see that things go right sometimes. Because, I mean, my God, if you pay attention to anything anymore, it seems like everything's on its head. So, but that's that story. Let's continue on and see what else we can dig into here. The next thing we're going to dig into here is this one, and I don't really know what the meat and potatoes of this one is, but I saw it referenced last week and just never looked at it. So I thought we'd look at it tonight and find out just what the hell they were doing. There's apparently a secretive FBI dig going on in Oklahoma or somewhere, and nobody was quite sure what the hell was going on. So let's see what this says. And this is, again, unexplained-mysteries.com, which is pretty much our hot sheet. Newly disclosed documents have revealed what the FBI was digging for. Oh, it's Pennsylvania, 3 years ago. Okay, the excavation, which centered around an area called Dent's Run, had long remained something of a mystery, with the FBI refusing to disclose exactly what it was searching for at the site. Now, however, documents disclosed during a court case have revealed that the agency was trying to locate a large shipment of Civil War-era gold that was lost or stolen while on its way from the mint to Philadelphia all the way back in 1863.
Wow.
Oh. The FBI, which had received a tip-off from father and son Dennis and Ken, or Kem? Is that Kern? I don't know what the hell that says.
Kem, K-E-M.
K-E-M, okay. Parada claims that it found nothing of value at the site. However, the Paradas now claim the agency has been hiding something about their findings and has taken the matter to court. Among the evidence presented is the alleged testimony of an FBI agent who revealed to them that a mass had been discovered 1 or 2 feet off of Demi's sweet spot. There's also references in the documents to the search for a cache that was 3 by 5 by 8 feet to 5 by 5 by 6 feet in size. The family's lawyer, Bill Cluck, is not... Boy, you know he had to get to be an attorney someday with that kind of name. You know he took him in the chin all the way through childhood. Bill Clark, I'm sorry, it's childish of me, but that's just one of those names I never would have expected. Okay. Is now pressing for more than 2,400 documents relating to the excavation to be released to the public through the Freedom of Information Act. The FBI, meanwhile, remains adamant that nothing was found. The FBI unequivocally rejects any claims of speculation. To the contrary, said a spokesperson. Of course, but the question would remain, so if they did recover it, it's already federal property, right? Since it was from the mint, it was lost during transition. I mean, so if they did find it, they would be well within their rights to say, well, we found it and it's ours and we're keeping it. unless they had some kind of agreement with these people that tipped them off. Hey, we'll help you figure it out if you give us X percentage. So, and then they went, no, we don't feel like sharing that. We didn't find anything.
Isn't that the job of the Secret Service, though?
I don't know. I would think so. Yeah, for minting and stuff, you'd think it would be, unless there was a crime involved. Maybe that's why the FBI is part of it as well. I imagine it was probably took, right? That's during the Civil War.
Yeah, shipment of Civil War era gold that was
stolen.
Lost or stolen.
Yeah. So then it becomes, I think it would probably, maybe there was no Secret Service. But
well, it was obviously somebody found a cache of it, maybe.
Yeah.
And then was planning to sell it, in modern era, shall we say? So, 1863 though, that's worth a lot of money.
That would be some amazing coins to look at.
Yes.
I'd love to have one or two.
I'd love to have, a couple. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
I of course, did not buy any. I don't know anything about it other than you read that story.
Good save. All right, well, there you go. That's another story. This one's weird. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but this is the first I've heard of mentioned of this. But this one, I guess there's a lot going on in space, folks, because these astronauts are coming back with some stories. And tell me what you think. This is Revisited. Astronaut saw snake out in space. And veteran astronaut Franklin Story Musgrave saw what he described as the snake during several space missions. Now retired, Musgrave is certainly no stranger to venturing into space, having completed 6 missions over his career, and being the only astronaut ever to fly aboard all 5 space shuttles. Over the years, several astronauts have reported seeing unusual things while up in space, and Musgrave is no exception, having seen one particular phenomena on several occasions. He described his encounters during an interview for the TV series Sightings back in 1995. On 2 of my missions, and I still don't have an answer, I have seen a snake out there, 6, 7, 8 feet long, he said at the time. It is rubbery because it has internal waves in it, and it follows you for a rather long period of time. The more you fly in space, the more you see an incredible amount of things out there that sort of brings to you really a certainty that other living creatures are out there. Some incredibly primitive, more primitive, some just proteins coming together, amino acids, and some just single-cell organisms out there, and other civilizations that have been around for a million years that are doing unimaginable kinds of things. But was the snake something otherworldly, or was there a more conventional explanation? Well, according to NASA, I'll bet you there was. During an interview for Omni magazine, he admitted that the object could have been an uncritical rubber seal from the main engines. You can check out his sightings interview in the video below, which we're not going to do. But
Wow.
But if you saw that same seal on many missions, they've got a problem with that seal.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. Houston, we have a problem.
I don't think I'd ever want to hear something that's on a space shuttle described as uncritical.
Or how about something described as, oops.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if it's on there, it's supposed to be on there.
There's a reason.
Yeah, they didn't just put like decals and flowers and stuff over and dangling dice.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like
the little dingle balls
there's
in the window.
Yeah, they got the sack hanging on the back of the shuttle.
Hey man,
on the
this?
toe strap, like those pickup trucks that got the scrotum hanging on them. But whatever the case, if it's on the shuttle, it's probably supposed to be there. So I don't know what an uncritical seal is. If it's a seal at all, it's critical.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah, it's like
we're losing hydro fluid.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
We should probably keep this sealed, or not. It's fine.
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay. We'll just let the vacuum of ice cold space in there instead. That's fine. I don't understand that logic at all. But that's another piece of the news, folks. Let's see. Is there any more? Nope. That has been our paranormal production of the Paranormal Portal News, folks.
And there you have it.
Let's get back to the show. Hey, Don.
Hey, what?
Hump day.
Hump day.
Hump day. It is, and hope you guys enjoyed the news. I know I enjoyed it because I like me some news.
Yeah, no doubt.
The news are kind of fun.
Space snakes, though.
Space snakes.
That's something new to me. Haven't heard of that one. However, they have found microscopic biological life on the windows of the,
Yes.
So it's not really too far of a stretch to believe that there are colonies of, microscopic, single-celled organisms up there.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah, it could be like jellyfish things swimming
Yeah,
around.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, space jelly.
Space jelly. Absolutely.
Pigs in
Space.
space.
Okay.
Let me at 'em. Space bacon, baby.
Throw them on the grill. They're just fine. They're just fine. All right. So I want to start with. Let me see where I can find it here. I pulled up this, and this is from a Reddit thread, and I don't read these too often because, first of all, I don't want to stomp all over people and stuff, but this is just one, and I thought it was kind of a cool story. So we're gonna take a walk of the wild side a little bit here and read this one, but it's from the Dogman thread, and it's a person about a year ago told an encounter story here with a Dogman. And I'll just read it because there's nothing to see. It's just the words. But it says, back around 20 years ago, I was visiting my great uncle in the region around Kerrville, Texas. At the time, he was living in his first house in the area before he moved to a retirement community near a small set of trees. The trees were beautiful, really, as is the hill country. And I was staying with him and my great aunt for about a week. And we went out for an evening to walk his dachshund and tended to do in the evenings in general. I imagine if you're in Texas, it must be hot. So you definitely walk the dog in the evening.
That's one hot dog.
Yeah, it's a dachshund as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's got the little buns and stuff. But the walk was uneventful as the sun set. Just a normal evening, complete with the calls of doves and other wildlife and the dog just having a wonderful time. Then suddenly, all the wildlife went deafeningly silent.
Definitely silent.
Yep, and both of us froze, as did the dog. I remember having a distinct sense of unease and fear that I couldn't quite explain. The dog looking directly in a specific area near a streetlight, my eyes turning to where the dog was looking. There was a creature loping through there. A dog-like thing about the size of a large Labrador Dachshund hybrid. So it's not a huge thing.
It's about the size of a Labrador that's a Dachshund.
It's a Labrador Dachshund hybrid.
But it was huge.
Yeah. Well, save that on the creature's neck, there was the head about the size of a bear. And the thing was loping up and down in a way that fitted that kind of build. It looked hypnotic in a sense, and I was more terrified than I have ever been with anything else I ever saw. It gave me a visceral understanding of Lovecraft's idea that things that just look fundamentally wrong are terrifying, precisely because the proportions don't fit.
Right.
That thing was powerfully built too. The upper limbs in particular were very stout, and the dog remained frozen for another few minutes before we moved back to the house. I'm not sure precisely what that was, or if it was a Dogman, but it convinced me that something like that could exist. The sudden silence that lasted for a few minutes after it left, and the dog just being frozen without even growling or barking, still sends chills in me when I remember it. As my only encounter with something like a cryptid too, it remains something very vivid in my mind. Not least because I know how dogs move. I know what wolves move like, and whatever this was no natural thing that made sense. So really crazy. Now, it doesn't sound huge. Like dogmen are usually 7-8 feet tall.
Right.
They're enormous. And so, I don't know. Very strange. There's lots of comments and stuff after that, and some people trying to get a better explanation of what it is, but it's really not really forthcoming from the narrative. But whatever it is, it's very strange. That whole silent wood things, that still trips me out. Because have you experienced that, Don, too?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But I mean, that's something that can be just about anything. I mean, any large predator moving through an area will shut down, a lot of it. Not all of it, because like bears are natural there, but if something gets within like a few feet of a bear, it shuts the hell up,
Sure.
kind of like me,
Yeah.
and then you hear
Yeah.
and a whole lot of running.
Yeah. Oh.
So, but that's the typical stuff. I mean, you might hear stuff around you be quiet, but there's still other chirping and insects going on otherwise, but never just a complete shutdown of everything within like an acre. That'd be weird.
Right. That would be weird. Hold on, I gotta open this and pull it over to the other thing as well. Did you send me just this one?
Yeah, just that one.
Okay, gotcha. I gotta pull this over and put it in the tabs because I got tabs built for the show. Yes, indeed. All right, let's do this. Okay.
Aaron says, I've been in the woods before when it was so silent it felt like it hurt my ears.
Yes.
Very weird feeling.
I can agree completely, Aaron, and I've experienced that. And what I experienced is it is, you're right, it's so quiet that like you get this like tinnitus. Tinnitus. Yeah. Where it's just like that's the only sound is what's in your head. And it's so creepy and it's so weird.
He says it's like a pressure change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I for the life of me trying to figure out what it was that was doing it. And there's no sound of anything. But it was weird because when it was all done, it was like first it was just a cricket. One cricket. And then it would be like several crickets. And then like tree frogs or something in the distance start croaking. And it was like, whatever it was, it's like everything started to breathe again.
Right.
And then I felt like I could breathe again. It was just so incredibly visceral and powerful. Whatever that presence was. And it could have been anything. Mountain lion, bear, I don't know. Right. I didn't see a thing. I didn't hear a thing. But the dog knew that it was there because the dog was going crazy. Would not stop barking. And until I got there and was out there with him. Then he just stayed quiet with me. But yeah, it was just really weird. Very, very strange experience. And it's very, very disconcerting. It's just you feel very uncomfortable, like you don't belong there.
Right.
But, I mean.
Kind of off center and.
Right, exactly.
Not knowing exactly what to do.
Yeah, well, the only thing I did was just stand my ground. It was like I was up there to help my old friend's wife and their small child who were there alone. Right. And so all I was doing was my duty. I felt like to be out there to make sure everything was okay, because God only knows what it could be. But once the forest kind of came back to life, it was like and then it was it. That was the whole experience, and that was it for the night, as far as I know. Like I eventually came back home. And that was the last I heard of it, but it's very, very creepy. Very creepy stuff. If you haven't experienced that, I hope you never have to. It's really terrible. It's really, it's really emasculating because you have no idea what's doing it. You don't know if it's 10 feet away from you or 50 feet away from you. It could be right around the corner, reaching for you for all you know. I just don't know. It said, Rachel gets it right. I've stepped through an invisible curtain in the woods. It was a place where me and my dad stopped for blueberries, this patch of woods. I stepped through it, tried it a few times. That's really cool. So it was almost like a sacred space, Yep. I think that's
cone of silence.
Well, yeah, kind of. I think there are energetic places. And some places that really are sacred because they are these fulcrums of energy. And so that sounds like what she's talking about. It's just like it feels like passing through a veil because you're going through that energy. But yeah, very cool. I was actually watching Monster Quest reruns from 13 years ago. It was an episode about mutant canines. No, I didn't. I don't remember seeing that. I don't know. I did like Monster Quest, but I didn't watch every one of them religiously. But anyway, yep.
I have no experiences, Bad Wolf.
You don't?
Yeah, so they ask, do you either of the two hosts have experiences? Brent does. I
Yes.
do not.
I got a ton of experiences. Now, Paisley, our friend, what did she see?
Like a like a like a
Bipedal.
well, yeah, it's what that's not the word I was going for.
Oh.
Albino.
Oh.
But she described it as white, kind of albino-ish. It was on. I think she said it was on 4 legs, but it stood up. So it, and it's like
That's so creepy.
down her driveway. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, there's things out there, folks. I have no doubt about it. Very creepy stuff. But anyway, let's continue. Let's get to some of the stuff we've got to roll through tonight. Let me see, where is this stuff? What the hell was this from? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Well, here's scary cryptid stories. And this one, the one that we're going to read now, this comes from ranker.com. It's a list. Scary cryptid stories. And we're on number 12. I don't know how many more there are. There aren't too, well, I guess there are a few more. I got to remember where the hell I was here. Here we go. So we're on the Devil of Northern Jersey. I imagine it's the
Jersey Devil?
Sounds like it. Sounds like the Jersey Devil. So let's check it out. And this is, again, ranker.com. And this comes from Redditor U. Cash Copley. And it says, to be honest, I don't know what I saw, but I have a distinct memory of seeing something as a kid. When I was younger, we used to live in a large woods. Next to the woods was a field used by the local Little League teams. Usually my mom would take me along to my brother's soccer practice, and I'd spend time swinging on the monkey bars and with the other kids, and I was only about 5 or 6, so I wasn't supposed to stray far. One day I was feeling a little braver than usual and I decided to wander further into the woods, and then I was allowed to. Not far into my adventure, I found myself just out of sight of the soccer field and about to enter an area where the trees became thicker. I remember looking up, and no more than 20 yards ahead of me stood, well, something. It stood upright like a person, but instead of clothes, it had pale sand-colored fur. It was about 8 feet tall and looked down at me with reddish-orange eyes.
Wow.
I wasn't scared by it.
Why?
I don't know. That's crazy, right? But I remember it staring at me with a stern expression on its face. A distinct, you're not supposed to be here look.
And he wasn't scared.
Uh-huh.
Or this person, I should say.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this goes on to say, I got the message. I turned on my heels and made my way back to the soccer field. It felt wiser to spend the rest of the time on the jungle gym with the other kids instead.
Wow.
This took place in northern New Jersey, but I couldn't tell you where or when since it was so long ago and we moved not long after it. It may have been the Jersey Devil. However, as far as the lore goes, the Jersey Devil mainly lives in the Pine Barrens, which is much further south.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird. Whatever it is, I don't know.
8 feet tall.
8 feet tall. That sounds like it could be a Dogman, right?
I wasn't scared by it. Dummy.
But don't you think that maybe they can set the mood? Like,
right. Maybe they can put out this
calming vibe.
Don't freak out because I don't want other people to know I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't need a little child screaming and bringing attention. Because, the people, how many times have we talked about stories where people just, boom, a switch is turned and they're suddenly terrified.
Right.
No idea why. It's just like somebody flipped a switch and changed the barometer, the energy barometer. And it's just this god-awful fear.
Right.
And so maybe they can do the same thing with just calm. Just like,
right.
Hey, you're not
Chill
supposed
out.
to be here. Go back.
Just go away.
So,
Go away.
I mean, that's a great thing. It's very cool, but that's, oh my God. What would you do, right? There'd been like a little nugget trail as I made my way back up to the monkey bars.
Those aren't M&Ms.
Those ain't your Reese's Pieces, E.T. All right. Trucker's Hellhound. Speaking of hellhounds, Don.
Yes?
From a former Redditor, truck drivers all have cool stories. The phenomenon is known as the black dog and is much less common now due to stricter regulations around drive times. You can only drive so many hours before you are required to shut it down for a certain amount of time. The black dog was much more common when truckers could drive for weeks without sleep. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm sure they had help. Yeah, it wasn't just strong coffee getting them through that. The most common hallucination was that of a big black dog with flaming red eyes chasing the truck and jumping on the hood or in the cab. And this would cause the driver to freak out and lose control of the vehicle. Funny thing is that no one knows why it's almost always a black dog. That is interesting that it would have the same manifestation from person to person.
Right.
But is that because everybody's familiar with it? Or is that just a happenstance? I don't know. I'd never heard of it before, but I'm not a trucker. Here's a pale, shapeless creature, Don.
Oh.
From Redditor You Immortal Dev. I barely remember it now, but one night when I was driving along a frontage road, there was a tall, pale, amorphous figure standing on the side of the road. No matter how hard I looked at it as I drove past, there was no discernible detail. I tried to continue looking at it in the rearview mirror after I'd passed, but it was gone. That's weird, right? So is that just a misty figure? Is that what that means?
You know, that reminds me of that video that we watched so long ago. It was a little short clip of them driving through like Gettysburg or something, and they saw this ghost supposedly. And
yes,
what I see it as is like raindrops moving across the windshield. Remember, you mentioned something very similar about that.
Yeah.
So, you know, something like that, a pale amorphous figure could have been a raindrop on the window with a piece of paper reflecting whatever light onto the windshield, and it creates this white, pale, amorphous, whatever. Don't believe everything you think you see.
If it was through a camera, yeah. But if it was through your eyes, I think you'd know if it was a raindrop, though.
Well, I mean, okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
But I mean, the people
right.
in that car were reacting like they all saw it, not just the person.
Oh, well, that's true.
On the camera,
that's true.
That was holding the camera. So
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
That is a good point. All right, here we go. Fly by Night, Don.
Oh,
because
that's a song by Rush.
Yeah.
Fly by night, goodbye, my sorry.
Just karaoke us into it. From Redditor, you probably an eagle shark. Okay. As a child in Frankfurt, I remember some nights when it was getting late, I would see a black figure fly over our apartments.
Huh.
I don't know for sure what it was, but I remember it flew silently. You wouldn't notice it if you didn't see it. It would fly fast, passing over in an instant. And had to estimate from memory, but I'd say it was about the size of a car. I wasn't the only one who saw it either. My neighbors saw it, parents, everyone. No one knew what it was. At that time, and today still, I mostly firmly believe it to have been some kind of massive bat.
Huh.
Ooh, could it be a Mothman then?
You know, when they first said it could be the size of a car, I thought of a flying Ford Angelina.
There you go.
Bounces off the Whomping Willow.
Is that what that car was in Harry Potter?
Yeah, it was a Ford Angelina.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't think I've ever heard of the Angelina
Well,
before.
that's because it's a British car.
That would make it. That'd make it why I never heard of it. All right, now this one's a little bigger. A little more reading involved here, folks, but this is making the nightly rounds. I wish they'd use a heavier font. This white background just kills me. All right, so from Bones Full of Pop Rocks. Pop Rocks, those are awesome.
Wow, Mr. Glass.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was young, teen, I was sitting on the floor in my mom's bedroom playing Animal Crossing when it got dark out. I didn't have a light on because I was in there for several daylight hours. So when it got dark, I only had the hallway light. I remember looking out the window to my left because I saw some kind of movement, but nothing was there. Just a tree branch next to my porch slightly shaking. I brushed it off, but then I remembered we didn't have any trees in our backyard. It was about a half mile in old farmland. I stared at the branch, trying to figure out where it was coming from, and my eyes trailed it until it came to an end against a white oval-like surface. I was squinting to see what it was when it moved. It turned and looked at me, and then slowly lumbered off. I figured I'd seen a deer with some kind of color mutation and that my eyes were just messing with me because I didn't have my glasses on. We normally have a herd or two of deer that grazed our backyard, but it wasn't until later I realized that none of the herds showed up during the time I saw it, whatever it was. None of the deer had a color mutation either. At least the regulars didn't. Well, I ignored it for a few days, and then about a week later, I was sleeping when I woke up in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. I don't know what woke me up, but I have a large window next to my bed, and I leave the blinds up on because my dog likes looking out. I look at my dog, and he's on alert, looking out the window. I grab my glasses and look at what he's fixated on, and I saw the thing again. I got a better look at it this time, but it had fur so black that its body wasn't really visible, only having the light of the moon and garage light off to the side. Well, I figured I was dreaming or something, but as it moved across my yard back towards the empty field, my dog's head tracked it. My dog was shivering slightly, and normally he barks at the smallest things, but it seemed like he was trying to be quiet. I grabbed my sketchbook that was on the dresser next to the bed and quickly drew what I saw. There's a link here. Let me finish reading it here. I never felt scared or whatever it was, just kind of peaceful in a way. It seemed like it's just patrolling the area, and I happened to catch it on its nightly rounds.
Huh.
What does this look like?
What the hell is that?
What he saw or she saw?
Well, what's it supposed to be?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Jabba the Hutt? Jabba the Hutt? Ooty bart ooty solo. I don't know. It's
gonna pay ya.
It's a Jabba, I was on my way. Even I get stopped by the Imperial fleet. I don't know. It looks like
A rock.
Yeah, or something, but I don't know what all this is, this stick stuff.
It's a tree limb.
But there's no trees, they said.
Over a rock.
Over a rock. Well, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not getting much from the picture itself, but
that must be the picture of when they weren't wearing their glasses when they first saw it.
The amorphous shape.
Yeah, when they were actually awake, when you can, have
playing the Animal Crossing.
Play some presence of mind to actually grab your glasses. But, not until they woke up,
That's really interesting, though. Yeah. I don't know. It said it had hair, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like a spiritual thing.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Very weird.
It's
what?
It's a Slimer.
It's a Slimer. Yes, it is.
Viva finally decided to come in. She says, it's a bear. Duh. Gosh, yeah.
It's always a bear. It's always a bear.
It's the bear.
Bear or Bigfoot is the next one, oddly enough. And this is from Throwaway Trumper. Jeez, love it when they're political. I grew up in central British Columbia, up on a mountain several miles from the nearest town. Middle of nowhere. I was hiking an adjacent mountain at roughly 12 years old. It was in the middle of winter, and the snow was, while about 4 foot deep, had thick crust on it that I usually wasn't breaking through. I'm walking along, and I see these big footprints that look like human footprints, but enormous. And if they were bear prints, they were an unnaturally elongated and didn't have the normal claw tips. In the heel of one side of the prints were sprinkles of blood. I looked way down, following the prints, and I see what looks like a tall, hairy dude awkwardly stepping through crunchy, deep snow a few 100 feet away. I saw what was probably a tall, skinny bear.
Oh,
really? Okay,
wow.
Yeah. Walking upright through some snow.
Uh-huh.
Or Bigfoot, either way. Yeah, you didn't see a bear walking upright through snow.
Yeah, no.
They don't walk upright through snow.
No.
They alert. They go up on their back legs. If they're posturing for, doing battle, they'll go up on their back legs. But they don't trudge through snow on their back legs. That's not bear behavior. It's like, wow. I don't know, folks.
People believe the strangest things.
Well, it's like they feel compelled to just sound silly. Like, I think it's probably a bear, because that's the out, right?
Right.
That's the safety.
It was a bear with alopecia.
Yeah. Yeah, well, whatever it was. It was also bleeding for whatever reason.
Apparently so.
Probably from breaking through the snow and onto sharp rocks. But who knows? All right, flying manta ray is the next one. This is number 18.
Okay.
It says, I was walking my dog, and he started wolfing and barking at the house across the street. I slowed down trying to get a look at what he was seeing. And there was this white, grayish boomerang-shaped thing flapping its wings really slowly, like a manta ray in the water, but it was moving way too fast and was circling our neighbor's house. It zoomed around the house, disappeared into the backyard, and going back around the front maybe 5 times as I stood, staring at whatever it was. It was nighttime, but there was enough light to see that it didn't have any definable features. It was just an amorphous, boomerang-shaped thing, and it was flying with one wing pointed towards the ground and one towards the sky, vertically. People say it was an owl or a bat or another type of bird, but it didn't have feathers or defined edges or an eyes or a head or anything animalistic. It was just a diffuse, oblong, unnatural shape, less than 100 feet away from me, moving way too fast for how slow its wings were flapping, and then it disappeared behind the house. To this day, I'm not sure what I saw, or if I even truly saw it. The prospect of it being a vivid hallucination is almost as scary, but my dog saw it too. I swear on my mother's grave, I saw something that night.
He was sucking the LSD out of his pores when the dog licked him.
Yeah, so they both zoomed. No, that's weird. I don't know. Again, there's so many weird things out there that don't seem to make sense. You know, it's not just Dogman, Bigfoot, you know, a little sprinkling of one or two other things. It's like this whole catalog of weirdness out there. That's the part I don't know. Here's Man Bear Pig.
Oh, boy.
From Cat Powers for Life. One night, my husband and I were driving home from somewhere. I think it was a friend's house, but I don't remember. And we were taking some back roads when suddenly this creature ran out in front of our car, and we had to slam on the brakes to avoid hitting it as it darted across the road into the woods. Its body looked like a human running on all fours, but it was way too fast to be human, and the head was like a boar's. It had tusks. We both saw the same thing and were rightly freaked out about it, and later we dubbed it Man Bear Pig.
Oh, boy.
Well, I mean, why not? It's at least 2 of them are in the description. I don't know. Again, the weird catalog of stuff. I don't know what to do with those. And now, granted, any one of these or any number of these could just be, musings of a bored mind.
Did they say where they were from? Where they saw that?
No.
I wonder if it was California, down somewhere like, Cha-Cha's area. Viva's is one of her ex-boyfriends or something.
Oof. Never know. Never know. All right. Next is King Kong.
Hairy bear means something different.
When my dad was a kid, he'd ride his bike on the gravel road about 2 kilometers to get to school.
Up the hill.
Both ways. He lived in the country, and this was the mid-50s. He said as he was riding his bike home, when a short distance ahead, he saw a really tall, hairy monkey walk out of the trees and cross the road. He thought a gorilla or something escaped from the zoo because that's the only thing he could think that made any sense. I asked him if he was scared, and he said no. I always took my piece to school with me.
Well, back in the 50s, you could.
Wow. Yeah. On your bike. Yeah. You got your deer rifle on your bike.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
no,
weird.
deer rifle's not a piece.
Yeah, I know.
It's more like a hog leg.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now there's another
Creepy creatures of ill repute.
Creepy creatures of ill repute. Let's see what this is. Oh, there's lots of them.
Oh, wow. Ooh, Bunny Man.
Oh, jeez. We should have hit that around these.
Stories about fairies.
Yeah, there's lots of them here.
Wow.
I have to leave this open and look through them. Figure out some stories for another show. These are all the Bigfoots around the world.
Meet Baba Yaga.
Meet Baba Yaga.
Scroll back up, yeah, just right there.
Oh, yeah.
The Slavic witch. Well, yeah, of course.
Who lives in a chicken-legged hut.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's Baba Yaga's kind of a creepy story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
She's quite a legendary figure. I don't claim to know her, but then again,
I may have met a few of them.
So, well, I don't know what to do with that. What do I do with that, Don?
Leave it there.
Okay.
Eat the chicken leg cut and just go on with your business.
So here's another one that we've been kind of reading through. Forest Cryptid. Did we already start this one?
I have no idea.
I think I'll reread it because I think this is one that we bumped into the end of a show, and I had to kind of power read it. I think. No, I did read this one. Okay. No, I did read that one. So this is a story from liveabout.com, folks, and this one is cryptid monsters and weird creatures. Cryptid monsters and weird creatures, which is right up our
alley. Yeah,
that's our alley right there.
Yeah, somebody wandered into the forest, and here we are.
This is where we live, folks. This is our wheelhouse. I was driving on Broadkill Road. It's called Broadkill Road.
Wow.
In Broadkill Beach, Delaware. Wonder how they got that name, Don.
I don't know. Gosh.
Around dusk in July 2007.
Dumping area.
Yeah, there's just, yeah, could be. The road borders a swamp area. Standing on the side of the road by the swamp, my daughter and I saw a creature like we've never seen before. It stood about 2.5 to 3 feet tall, with long legs, a tan body, a flat, almost puggish face, and a long tail. It had small ears and looked to be about 30 pounds.
Wow.
My other daughter and her friend also saw this same animal the year before around the same time, or same area, except it was night and it ran in front of their car. I asked the lady who owns the Broadkill Beach store about it, and she said she had seen it once when she was dirt biking with her dad in that area years before. And both her and her dad had no idea what it was, even though she was raised around Broadkill. She said we were lucky to have spotted it, as very few people have seen it. We went to the Prime Hook Reserve, this is what the swampy area is called, museum, and they had no idea what it could be. I'm wondering if anyone else has seen it and what the heck it is. So it's a creature, 2.5 to 3 feet tall, long legs, tan body, flat, almost puggish face, long tail, small ears, look to be about 30 pounds. So
sounds like a monkey.
Well, it sounds quadrupedal, right? So they didn't say it was upright or anything, but just a weird creature. The Florida sea monster. This story takes place, I think, in the summer of 1995, making me 9 years old. Practically every other year, my family would take a trip to Florida, and we would usually go to Disney World, but my mom was getting sick of that, so that year we actually didn't go to Disney World, to my sister's and my dismay. On one of these days, we were on the beach. I don't remember what the beach was called. I think I remember the story, but it's a different article we found it in. But I don't remember the beach was called, but the people sitting next to us mentioned it being the bottom tip of Florida. Well, after a while of nothing happening, everybody was either in the ocean or sunbathing silently. A woman sitting to the left of us pointed past us to our right, asking, "What is that?" We all turned and looked at the surprisingly vacant corner of the beach. There were no people down there, but what was there was something really strange. We all got up to get a better look, very quickly forming a crowd around it. If I had to describe the creature we saw in one word, that word would be cartoonish. I will never forget what it looked like. It was green and looked like a ball of slime about the size of a basket. It had tentacles resting on the ground around it, with 2 longer tail-like tentacles sticking out of its back. The thing that was the most bizarre and made it look cartoonish were its eyes, which were on stalks that stood about a foot off its body. The eyes looked creepily human and just looked at us in an almost disinterested way. The other strange thing about it was its mouth, which never seemed to close. And where did you expect teeth were tooth-shaped fleshy protrusions? Not one, not even the creature seemed scared. And after a while, it lazily slithered back into the ocean.
Nice.
There were roughly 10 witnesses to this thing, and we all spent most of our time talking about what it must have been. One idea was that it was a parasite organism for a much larger creature, but one also possibly never identified.
Right, I remember that one. A parasitic organism would be a rather scary thing.
That'd be a huge parasite. Wow. That is strange. That's very strange. I don't know. You know what freaked me out is those lampreys.
Why?
They're like vampires. They just mount themselves and dig holes in the side of fish and like drain them. They're just horrible things.
So Jimbo in chat says, Brent and Don, do you guys ever go on investigations, paranormal or cryptid?
Well, we have. It's something we certainly like to do a lot more of, but it's also something that requires a whole, different financial obligation. And quite honestly, it's much more cost effective for us to do a studio show. Mm-hmm. But we love getting out and doing it. We have an investigations playlist on our YouTube channel here, and you can certainly check out the ones we have done. One of the things is we never actually formatted any of it in a real cohesive manner. So they're just videos of us at different locations. One of which is the Coloma ghost town in Montana, right? Which was simply amazing. I don't know. Did we do the structure that we checked out? Is that on the playlist?
I think we talked about it.
We never did actually.
Back, on a show back when.
Yes.
I don't know if it's actually on that particular playlist.
I think it should be.
I think it should be as well.
Yeah. And, there's a couple of them there right now. And so, it's something we'd love to do a lot more of. We're looking into, but it's got to be, it's got to be fiscally available to us.
Right.
We're a small show, so it's tough to garner the resources to, get the equipment necessary and to get out into the field and make them happen. But we're going to do what we can this year. So.
Well, and it starts in June. If we don't find something before.
Absolutely. So, but we will certainly announce, any future plans as they develop. But thank you for asking.
Yes, Viva, I saw that. Viva says, Dawn, if it walks like a monkey and sounds like a monkey, it's a bear. Duh.
Okay. All right.
This thing about bears,
She does.
She's like,
I can barely take it. I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Oh, boy.
All right. So let's continue on. This is the Mothman. You never believe what I saw one very cold, dry November night. My family and I moved into a new house up on a hill on a little back road in the small town of Fort Gay, West Virginia. Fort Gay sits right on the east side of Kentucky. The population of my town then was probably just a couple of thousand. My family and I were unpacking. We had not yet put the furniture in its rightful places, and everything was still in boxes. Overwhelmed with working all day, I retired around 11 p.m., and I put my little brother on the couch and I took his bed since my bed wasn't put together yet. His room faces the front of the house. His window is about 20 to 25 feet or so off the ground.
Wow.
Must be a second story, right?
That's a third story.
Or third story. I was looking out the window when I saw it. It stood about 7 feet tall.
As I looked down to it from like 20 or 25 feet.
Yeah. I had no idea what it was, but I was frozen. I'd never been that scared in all my life. All I could do was lay there and just stare at this thing. It was sitting in a tree about 50 feet or so off the ground, about 50 feet from the house across the yard. It felt like an eternity. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even blink. It had big, red, bright, glowing eyes, looking dead into my face. I finally worked up enough courage to close my eyes and put my head under the covers, and then all of a sudden, this thing smacked the window. I went through the house screaming, "There's something outside." I was crying. My mom and dad looked at me and said, "What's wrong with you? Looks like you've seen a ghost." My face was snow white. I said, "I don't know what it was, but please, Daddy, don't go outside." I begged, and he came back in and said, "There's nothing out there." I kept screaming, saying, "Yes, there is. Yes, there is." When I explained it to them, what I saw and how I felt, they said I was crazy, but to this day, I will not go outside by myself. And even in the day, someone still has to watch me into my car. I have some pretty crazy things going on up on that road, but I never expected to experience anything myself. My husband and I went to the theaters and watched Mothman Prophecies.
Oh, boy.
I was reliving that night all over again. The way they described feeling and what saw was remarkable. What saw? My husband looked over at me and said, "Isn't that what you described to me when you first started dating?" I couldn't say a word. After that moment, I knew what I saw. I believe in all of my heart of hearts. I saw the Mothman. It's just a little weird. I only live 80 miles south of Port Pleasant, West Virginia, where all of that took place 37 years ago. It was exactly 32 years to the month when I saw it. Wow.
So the brother's window was 20 or 25 feet off the ground.
Yep.
The thing that they saw was like 50 feet off the ground.
Yep. In a tree.
50 feet away.
Yep.
So 25-foot difference in height, looking up, not down, and they still said it was 7 foot tall.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. Pretty good estimations on size, I guess.
Okay.
I think this is a story we've read before too, but if this is the one I'm thinking of,
Kitsune.
I love this one, the Kitsune. Fox spirit. Back in September 2004, I was hiking in the Arashiyama area outside of Kyoto, Japan. I decided to leave the touristy area and set off alone in a random direction towards the mountains. I found myself on an old trail through the forest. After a while, I encountered an old man with a long white beard. He carried a staff and was dressed in coarse blue robes, like a peasant out of a samurai movie. He saw me and told me to follow him. Being more curious than anything, I walked after him as he led me further into the forest. Oh, I'd do it too, though. I would in a heartbeat. Seriously.
Where'd Brent go? I don't know. He went for a walk and never came back.
If I don't come back, just know that me and the fox are hanging out.
He's finally got a fox.
Yeah. What does the fox say?
Kill.
He spoke at length about the beauty of nature, about how people cut down the forests and polluted the earth. He told me that humans must learn to protect and respect nature. During the whole exchange, he never spoke about himself or asked any questions of me. After a while, he said that he had to leave and showed me another trail, saying I should take it when I wanted to go back to the city. He then left by that trail. I happened to pass the same place on my way back that evening, so I took the trail the old man showed me. Only minutes later, I ended up completely lost and couldn't even find the trail itself to retrace my steps. It was getting dark out, and as I shone my flashlight around, I noticed an old white fox watching me from nearby. I could have sworn it was watching me with an amused look on its face, but as soon as I shone my light on it, it ran off into the bushes. I remember reading all sorts of Japanese stories and legends about fox spirits that can take human form, and I feel that I may have seen one that day.
Japanese skinwalker?
I don't know. I think that's more.
Kitsune?
I think it's more spiritual, probably.
True, yeah.
Or multi-dimensional, maybe. That's really cool, though. What a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I see that'd be a conversation I'd love to have. Just to listen. Invisible sprinting humanoids. I think we covered this one too. It's a police van. Yeah. Yep. Working as a police motorway patrol woman in Portsmouth, England, I'm frequently confronted with situations that are both bizarre and unnerving. However, the incident that occurred on the 25th of November last year is by far the most unusual of all of them. During a routine speed camera setup in the city around 6:30 p.m., at which time it was completely dark, our speed trap picked up random tracings of non-existent objects hurtling past at 30 to 40 miles per hour. The devices are not actually known to malfunction, so we trained the camera on the road surface to see what we were picking up. Sitting on the back of the patrol car van, we were shocked to discover on the screen that the camera was picking up what can only be described as human figures, running up and down the street approximately 40 feet away from the vehicle, only barely visible through the night vision filter. They were an average height and had silvery hue and were sprinting up and down the central reservation, the dividing surface between the two opposing lanes on a motorway, repeatedly and very fast. I admit I did not exit the vehicle to investigate, but apparently I didn't have to. Only about 10 feet away at the side of the road, one of these silvery entities just appeared on the screen, female, looking about 6 foot and standing motionless, facing away from the van. She was dressed in scantily clad clothing, not unlike that of a young woman on an evening out may wear, but I was extremely freaked out, especially considering that leaning out of the window There was absolutely no evidence of anyone standing in that close to the vehicle. As the first vehicle, only 5 minutes from the first sighting, drove past, all visible evidence of the entities had vanished.
Wow.
Nothing occurred from that time till the end of the duty at 9 p.m. And yet, when I played back the footage from the camera, the silvery objects and the woman were not on the tape. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I did not report the incident, but friends and fellow officers agree that it's highly unusual, and none of them had experienced anything of the like before. From Cassandra J. Wow. That's creepy. What is out there?
The spirit of Flash. And
they were only going 30 or 40.
Well, he doesn't have to zip around everywhere.
I would, wouldn't you?
He's got to be able to walk at some point.
I would be flying everywhere. I'd be like, bam, done. Let's get her done.
You want food from Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go get Chinese. Boom.
Good Chinese, finally. Thank God. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. So this one's red-eyed roadside cryptid. The red-eyed roadside cryptid. Sorry.
Oh, my. Just got a pretty mouth.
Oh, hey. I should get dinner first.
Whoa.
The following happened in Vidor, Texas, on June 20th, 2000, at around 1 a.m. I just got off of work and was headed east. On this road, there's a 90-degree turn, and at times you have to watch because the cattle might be out and on the road. That morning, that's what I thought happened. No one else was on the road, but I saw the red eyes that would look at the truck lights and look down over and over, and I knew something was not right. I was driving on the left side of the road, and when I got closer, I noticed that this red-eyed creature stood about 5 feet tall and sported black hair all over its body. I stopped the truck and got out my spotlight and shined it on this creature. It seemed like forever, but I know that it was only a few minutes. This creature raised its arm above its head and let out a terrible scream that I have heard before. It turned around, went behind the house, and left. I've heard this sound before when I lived in Teal Road in Orange, Texas, just a few miles from this location. I've traveled this road many times hoping to see this creature again, and never have. I'm told this creature is related to Bigfoot. I don't know, there's the absolutes that I really cringe at. I'm told this creature is related to Bigfoot. Well, how do you know that? How can anybody know that? What is related to Bigfoot? What isn't?
Right.
I mean, and maybe it's semantics. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it, but when people make these definitive statements, like they have this knowledge, it's like, how the hell could you know that?
Right.
Nobody knows what they're related to.
Right.
They might be related to us. They might not be, but we don't have enough to build a family tree.
Hey, shout out to Happy Girl.
Oh.
She says, "Yay, I love my paranormal t-shirt."
Oh, very cool.
Nice.
Very nice. Glad
you love it. You love it.
Absolutely. And if anyone else would love a paranormal t-shirt, check out the link in the show description below, the Teespring link, and you can check out and see if you find one that you would like for your own.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a good segue.
Yes, it was.
Speaking of investigations, this is how we raise revenue. All right. So let's continue. Bizarre Australian creature. To like Aussie and all of our Australian friends. Peter Turk's out there listening, I think.
That's true. Aussie's here too, yeah.
Yep. I'm not entirely sure on the exact date when this happened, but it would have been around 1999, maybe spring or summer. Living in Australia, you're bound to see strange things from time to time, although most have an explanation behind them. This is different. I was young at the time, probably 9 or so, and my family was having a barbecue in the backyard of our house. We're all sitting at this table on the patio, eating and talking, not really paying attention to anything surrounding us. Suddenly, I heard a plop noise come from the leaf cover in the garden along the back fence. I immediately turned and looked to see what had made the noise. I remember this one. To my horror, I saw a small blue creature look at me and then run into the shrubbery. It was about 15 centimeters or 6 inches tall on all fours, but it didn't have any toes that I could see. Its face was vertically oval shaped, with small black eyes, a long protruding nose, and a grimacing mouth filled with almost needle-like teeth. The outer of the face was dark blue, sort of like a mane, but it looked hairless. The rest of the face and body was a light blue. The best I can describe the body is like that of a lion, except with short legs, no tail, and less sculpted. I looked at my brother and he said, "What was that?" He'd seen it too. When my mom calmed us down, she took my brother and me to separate rooms of the house and got us to draw what we had seen, and we both drew the same thing. I was terrified for the rest of the night, and to this day I still don't know what that creature was that I saw, but it still gives me the creeps. That's pretty wild. There you go, folks. That was a lovely list of fun. That was a lovely list of fun.
A lovely list. It was truly a lovely list.
8:27. Wow, the day is cooking.
It is.
The show is cooking by, folks. What the hell is going on? I hope you guys are all having a good time. If not, then you're not doing it right. Right, Don?
Yes.
Couldn't be our fault. It's got to be.
No.
It's got to be someone else's fault. No, but we got more to cover here. One last thing I want to make sure to cover before we're done with the show is an article by our very own wonderful friend, Mr. Brent Swanser. Writes for mysteriousuniverse.org. If you're not familiar with him, get familiar with him. He's a brilliantly talented writer, does a great job, amazingly well-researched and comprehensive stories. And I always walk away from his articles learning. And that's not, I can't say it's rare, but it's just really appreciative. He just goes so many levels deep on all of his stuff. But he's also a friend of the show, and he has a Facebook group. If you want to get in touch with him or get involved in his group, it's Dark League Paranormal. But we would just ask that you make sure to check out mysteriousuniverse.org or any of the sites that we've been talking about tonight that we've found information on. All of these sites, of course, are run by people, doing the best they can to put this stuff out there. And it's the more that we can support these efforts, the more they will be able to continue their journey, and that is always good for all of us. So check out mysteriousuniverse.org. Nick Redfern writes over there, Brent Swanser, Paul Seaborn, and several others. And very, very good stories. Very well done. There's thousands of articles over there on mysteriousuniverse.org.
Yes.
That's a hell of a podcast of its own. So definitely support it.
So one of our chatters, Karen, is saying, we're going to wear ours to Meddling Falls.
Ooh.
We're big nerds and wear matching shirts. LOL, we're old.
Oh, nice.
Well, then we'll know exactly who Karen is when she gets there.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be great. We'll be over there as well. And Meddling Falls Festival, the Bigfoot Festival, is really getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So
didn't you just say Amy Boo was going to be there?
Yeah, Amy Boo is going to be there. She said she's going to be there. So and Bob Gimlin's going to be there. Mm-hmm. Ken Gerhardt's going to be there. Adam Davies is going to be emceeing the events.
Yep.
And just phenomenal people, hosted by Meddling Falls and Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC. There's so much going on over there. There's a free Bigfoot Film Festival that'll be happening at the theater there. So if you're there and you can't get into a speaking engagement, walk over a couple blocks to the movie theater, check out the movies. There's going to be outdoor tents where the speakers, when they're not speaking, will be out, and you'll have a chance to meet them anyway. So if you can't get into the speaking engagement, don't worry. That's one small part. I mean, it's a big part, but it's one part of the weekend. Mm-hmm. And there's just going to be so many incredible people there. And more names are going to drop soon. There's one that I'm waiting for it to clear, but it hasn't been official yet. But it will be. He just didn't want to announce it publicly until a certain time. So we're waiting on that. But at any rate,
it sounds like it's just going to be like this wander up and down the street and just shake hands with all these people that are in the midst of all of this. It's like fun. Just bumping into people. It's like it's like downtown Sandpoint. Hey, there's Ben Stiller, and hey, there's Viggo Martin.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wow, okay.
Have you ever run into Viggo?
Nah, I haven't run into Viggo, but I know a couple people who have.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, very cool. But that'll be in it'll be in June 19th and 20th in Meddling Falls, Washington State. Mm-hmm. So definitely make sure, if you can make it. But don't let the fact that the speaking engagements are sold out be a deterrent to you.
Exactly, yeah.
There's so many other opportunities to meet and talk with the speakers and to have a great time. And, I just consider it like a bucket list in one weekend.
In one weekend,
yeah. I mean, it's just a whole weekend bucket list to meet these people.
Tired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Breakfast in the morning, do the show, and then, drinks and dinner afterwards.
Yeah. We're going to eat, get fat and happy, and have a great time meeting people and talking to people.
Getting happy, at least for me.
Well, no, not just for you. I'm already a little chunky, but a lot chunky, actually.
Speaking of chunky, we watched Gremlins in the theater today. That was awesome.
Oh, very cool.
Not Gremlins, Goonies. The Goonies.
Goonies.
Yeah. So,
you see Chunk do his dance?
Do the shuffle. Come on, guys.
Oh, my God. All right. Now, this is the article I wanted to touch base with you guys, because these are little people. And I know a lot of people out there are like, little people, what? Like, people are okay with the Bigfoot. They're okay with Dogman. But then they kind of draw the line in the sand. It's like, this is my belief circle.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's these other things that aren't in it. And I understand the uncertainty and trepidation. But the little people stories are global. They are literally a global phenomena, just like the Bigfoot. And this is not just popular fiction or just fairy tales. Their First Nations have stories of them. A lot of ancient cultures and civilizations have stories about them all over the world as part of their legend, lore, and their histories. And so don't discard anything. Because with that much history around it, that much material around it, there's got to be something to it. This didn't just come from fertile minds that were geographically displaced all over the world, coming up with the same ideas. I mean, you got to think about that.
It's not coincidence.
Right. So this is the article. It's, again, by Brent Swanser, and it's mysteriousuniverse.org. It's The Mysterious Little People of the Cherokee. And this is June 20th of 2019.
And get ready for some really bad pronunciation.
Yeah, probably. Because...
What do you mean you weren't invited? You're always invited. Jeez, Viva.
Oh. All right. Here we go. Among the many legends of the proud Cherokee people of North America, it is the curious tale of a race of little people who were said to inhabit the wilds of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia, and who the natives called the Nunehi, meaning people who live anywhere, as well as the Yunwe Sundi, or little people. In appearance, they were said to look just like human beings, only smaller in stature, in some traditions no higher than a man's knee, and imbued with various powers, such as the ability to vanish at will. Hold on. Did you give me a courtesy cough?
Exactly.
Don gave me a courtesy cough. Nice. So, with the ability to vanish at will, teleport from place to place, and the ability to live forever, the Nunehi were mostly considered to be a jovial race, inclined to dance and sing, and they were also seen as benevolent protectors of the forest and helpers of lost travelers. It was not uncommon for the hunters to tell tales of hearing the drums of the Nunehi off in the distance, and although it is said that to try and track the sound to its source was futile, with the sound always growing further away. These mysterious entities were said to remain invisible most of the time, watching humans from afar, from the most part, inhabiting the most remote mountain peaks and darkest caves far from human interference. But they were known to appear to the Cherokee during times of need, such as war or calamity, and stories abound in the Nunehi's willingness to help their human neighbors in times of need. Especially when warfare erupted, they were supposedly fiercely protective of the tribe and would rally together with forces of invisible warriors to drive away enemies. They were said to construct elaborate townhouses underground or within mountains, such as one supposedly lying under Blood Mountain in Georgia, another near Lake Tralita, and another still under Pilot Knob, and the Nukwasi Mound in North Carolina. Humans were lost or injured, often told of being brought to these subterranean homes to be cared for, or nursed back to health by the Nunehi, and some Cherokee were said to even go off to live with them permanently. It was said that in order to be accepted, one had to fast for 7 days, whereupon they would be taken into these lairs to live out the rest of their days. On very rare occasions, there were such townhouses found near human settlements, and the American ethnologist James Mooney would write of these in his 1898 Myths of the Cherokee. Close to the old trading path from South Carolina up to the Cherokee Nation, somewhere near the head of the Tugaloo, there was formerly a noted circular depression about the size of a townhouse and waist deep inside, and it was always clean, as though swept by unknown hands. Passing traders would throw logs and rocks into it, but would always find on their return them thrown far out into the hole. The Indians said it was the Nunahi townhouse, and never liked to go near the place or even talk about it, until at least some logs thrown by the traders were allowed to remain there, and then they concluded that the Nunahi, annoyed by the persecution of the white man, had abandoned their townhouse forever. A very curious tale of supposed encounter was also told of by Mooney in his writings. It had supposedly happened to a local man at a town of Nottely when he was a child, and begins with the boy meeting an old stranger out in the forest who invited him to his home. Well, the boy agreed and found it to be a jovial, happy place, full of warmth and laughter, and he ate dinner with the whole family before falling asleep. When he awoke in the morning, the man took him out along a path that would lead him home. Mooney says of the rest of the odd tale, they went down a path that had a cornfield on one side, a peach orchard fenced on the other, until they came to another trail, and the man said, go along this trail across the ridge, and you will come to a river road that will bring you straight to your home. And now I'll go back to the house. So the man went back to the house, and the boy went on along the trail, but when he had gone a little way, he looked back, and there was no cornfield or orchard or fence or house. Nothing but trees on the mountainside. He thought it very queer, but somehow he was not frightened. He went on until he came to the river trail inside of his home. There was a great many people standing about talking, and when they saw him, they ran towards him, shouting, there he is, he's not drowned or killed in the mountains. They told him they had been hunting for him since yesterday noon and asked where he had been. A man took me over to his house and just across the ridge, and I had a fine dinner and a good time with the children, said the boy. I thought Udsi Scala here, that was the name of the man he had seen at dinner, would tell you where I was. But Udsi Scala said, I haven't seen you. I was out all day in my canoe hunting you. It was one of the Nunahi that made himself look like me. Then his mother said, you say you had dinner there? Yes, and I had plenty too, said the boy. But his mother answered, there is no house there, only trees and rocks. But we hear drums sometimes in the big bowl above. The people you saw were the Nunahi.
Wow.
Yeah. It seems like this must all surely be pure folklore and legend, but there have been some who have suggested that there may be a grain of truth behind these myths. One of these is author and researcher Mary Joyce, who's written of the phenomena in her book, Cherokee Little People Were Real. Joyce claims that she has uncovered evidence that there was indeed a race of tiny humans who could have been behind the tales. Some of this evidence was apparently uncovered by Walter Middleton, who was one of the people behind the construction of the Western Carolina University campus in the 1930s, during which they supposedly made some strange discoveries. Joyce has said of this, he and a few other men were actually worked on the first buildings that were constructed at Western Carolina University, and when they were cutting into the virgin land, they found these tunnels, these little tunnels, and they also found a little skull. And there was a science teacher at the university who kept it on his desk, and he always said it was a child's skull. One day another lecturer came by and picked it up and looked at it real close and noticed that it had its wisdom teeth. Typically, you don't get those, your wisdom teeth, until you're about 18, 19, 21, or 22, 20 or 21 rather. So that indicated it was an adult skull, not a child's skull. Is there anything to these legends? They say that much of folklore is based on some essential grain of truth, buried in the past of the people who believe it. So was there really ever perhaps a race of diminutive beings that spurred the stories told amongst the Cherokee. It is unclear whether these rich traditions have any basis in fact at all, but the stories remain, and they make one wonderful, if there is perhaps more to the story of this land than we've been taught. There definitely is. There's a lot more to this land than we've been taught.
Definitely.
Wouldn't you say, Don?
You know, I really like the story of the boy about how he had dinner with the family and such like that, because it just shows that there, you know, it speaks to the idea that there are the tree spirits and the forest people and things like this, and
Yes.
the purity of the child, because all the adults only hear the drums and know that it's up in the big bald, which is like probably a clearing up there.
Sure.
You know, but
Yep.
you know, having that kind of thing happen is kind of cool. Now, there's also I've read years ago, and I can't remember where the heck it was, but a story of a person who a child who had disappeared for like a week or so, and had been out in the forest, and the child reports stepped into a fairy ring. And then was, you know, treated by the family of fairies or whatever that is, you know, very well. And they tried to seduce him into staying with them. And eventually something happened, and he left and told the story. It was really kind of a cool story.
That is really cool. And there's also some bleed through between these little people and alien races. I know on Sasquatch Chronicles, there was a story.
Who's that?
Who's that? That's Mr. Germer. There was a story of never. What did you say? Never heard of her?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, you're just all lip, aren't you? There was a story of this guy seeing a little diminutive creature like that, and he said he was like saw it, and the thing saw him, and then it ran, and the guy chased it, and it ran and ran through the woods with all of this, you know, spry, you know, level of energy, and then it jumped into what looked like a barrel next to a telephone pole. And suddenly the barrel goes up into the sky.
What?
Yeah. Like, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe they're not from here. Or maybe they really are from here, but they're one of those breakaway civilizations that have always been here. But they're
wearing a little top hat, a little green top hat.
I don't remember the physical details, but I just remember, I think the guy was green, as I recall the story, but I might be wrong.
Dobie.
Yeah, Dobie. Dobie is free. Yep, to ride his barrel wherever he wants to. But that is a part of the stories that does. I mean, it's kind of interesting, because if you think of the mysticism of these creatures, what if it's just technological?
Right.
You know, I love the mysticism better, because that makes magic real, and I think that's cool. But you know, if maybe it's a little both, or maybe it's kind of like the Thor movie. Well, the science is so advanced it becomes magical.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I think it's really cool. And I do want to get in touch with that Joyce lady, that Mary Joyce that he's talking about. The Cherokee little people were real.
Okay.
I've heard her interviewed, and incredibly interesting, the stories that she tells. And she talks of those tunnels that were discovered as they built the university, and how they were like 3 feet tall, and they were all peaked. Like they're tunnels with these peaked roofs, like they were made for those cone hats to go through, you know? And I found that really interesting. And I imagine she would probably have information about that burial ground that was supposedly dug up in the 1800s. Remember, Don? The little people burial ground of like thousands of graves.
A vague memory.
Yeah. Well, it's something we've definitely
Did
talked
we talk about that with
Robin?
Robin, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember if she is really familiar with it or not. I don't recall, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. This is a very interesting topic, and I think there's a lot to uncover here, a lot to unpack, and we can certainly do that. But I'm going to try to reach out to this woman. I'll leave that.
I think I just found her Facebook page.
Oh, did you? Okay, fantastic.
Studied Western Michigan University and Wayne State University. Lives in Dillsboro, North Carolina. I'll have to check.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because she would be very interesting. Be fun to do a podcast with her for sure. And if she'd want to come on the live show, she could as well. If especially if she had some visual stuff, that'd be fun.
Right. Because
this stuff is so darn interesting. All right. This is coming out of the dailystar.co.uk. The next article, And this will probably be our last one.
It does look like it.
For the night. So we've done chewed the night away, folks. But again, dailystar.co.uk. And I don't know anything about the the reputation of this. I don't know anything about the reputation of UK sites. It could be just a flaky, Inquirer kind of thing, or World News Daily or whatever, but we'll read it. It says, look like a werewolf running around the terrifying Dogman of Lincolnshire. There have been reports of a giant dog-like creature in the region dating back to the 1600s, and photos show something very strange could be going on. All right, so it says, oh my God, it says blow up that font. All right, that's much better. Lincolnshire locals have been terrorized by a huge dogman creature for hundreds of years, a paranormal expert says. There are no experts.
Sweetly.
Lee Soloway, host of Realm of the Supernatural podcast, told Daily Star Online that there have been reports of a giant dog-like creature in the region dating back to the 1600s. Mr. Soloway says there was a particularly eerie encounter in 1995 when a local Grimsby official was notified by a security guard that something that looked like a werewolf running around had been spotted at a caravan park. When the man arrived at the scene to investigate, he found a van parked on the road with no one inside. Terrified locals hiding nearby called out to him to run, saying a huge wolf with glowing eyes had chased off the previous guard. Oh, geez. Look at that tree break. Ooh. Here we go. The official never saw the creature, and the first security guard never returned to work. American cryptid fanatics have long documented sightings of the folkloric Dogman, even capturing said creature on camera. This is a link. Do I click it? I suppose I do.
Dare I?
Dare I click it? It's in the Brave browser, so maybe it'll be something. Oh, okay. It's one of these. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 The Jaws thing. Hey, that's actually the graphic I used for tonight's promo. Okay. Anyway, I'll get back to the article. The legend is described as a 7-foot tall, blue or amber-eyed canine-like animal.
There's a bit of a difference in color there.
With the torso of a man and a fearsome howl. The first reported sighting of the Dogman in North America came in 1887, and there have been multiple accounts since then. Paranormal believers had a field day in 2018 when a mysterious creature was shot dead in a forest in Montana, puzzling scientists who couldn't figure out what the species was.
Right.
Yeah, but that's forced perspective. Mm-hmm. It makes it look so huge, but I mean, they're right up on the tailgate here, and she's off to the side by about 5 feet. So, photos of the animal's body show it had long, dark gray fur, elongated snout, and a big head. Experts said its ears were too large and its legs and torso too short for it to be a wolf, which are common in North America. Wolves haven't roamed the UK for about 500 years, so sightings of large wild dogs cause much more alarm here. Nick Redfern, lecturer and journalist which covers unsolved mysteries such as Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and UFOs, confirms there have been a number of reported Dogman sightings in the UK. There was a spate of them in the summer of 2006, he wrote for Mysterious Universe. Wonderful sight. Look at that. 2 legs. Yeah. It was late June of that year when all hell broke loose. Reports flew around Staffordshire, England's Cannock Chase woods to the effect that nothing less than a fully grown wolf was wildly roaming the area. Early on the morning of June 28th, motorists on Junction 10A and the M6 motorway near Cannock jammed highways, agency phone lines with reports of wolf-like creature that was seen racing between lanes in the rush hour.
Wow.
Oof, that's spooky.
We're playing Frogger.
Motorists stared with utter disbelief as the 3-foot-long beast, 3 foot long, described as grayish-black, racing between lanes, skillfully dodging cars before leaping for cover in nearby trees. There's evidence of other phenomena in Lincolnshire that seem to indicate strange activity in the area. Excuse me. Realm of the Supernatural co-host Finchy took a photo of 2 bloody deer legs strewn across the A18 near Humbershire Airport. Soon after, a huge creature described as darker than night was spotted nearby. Mr. Solway also photographed a bizarre twisted tree in the Wilmington Woods, Market Razin, that had been violently broken, as though a large creature had swept past it. He doesn't buy many people's assumption that those who have cited the Dogman were just on drugs. They'd be some pretty good drugs to let you see that. That's what it says. They'd be some pretty good drugs. Yeah, I mean, that's peculiar. Nothing conclusive, of course, but I don't know why they pulled in that Montana thing.
Yeah.
That was not relevant at all.
Well, they just want to put out, the fantastic. This was the size. It was this big.
Yeah. That is a pretty significant break, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. But I don't know that that's a description of Dogman, though.
Right.
I don't ever remember hearing of Dogman doing tree breaks. I might be absolutely wrong, but I don't pretend to know a whole lot about them. But, yeah, I mean, that's obviously a very Bigfooty or, something of that nature kind of thing. But, no, that's very, very wild. But there you have it, folks. That's how we're rolling tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the journey.
Me too.
Did you enjoy the journey, Don?
I always enjoy our journeys.
And there you have it. We've covered the Dogman. We covered little people. We've covered some other weirdness, Mothman, and everything in between. So
and a jelly-looking parasite.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where the parasite thing comes from. Maybe.
Well, you see that thing that takes the place of the tongue in certain fish. It's got little eyes, little mouth, and it's like, and you've never seen that?
Well, no, but they said the eyes were on stalks, like up on the head.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, like an alien thing. But it's whatever it was, very weird. So I hope you've enjoyed the journey. If you're not already subscribed, please get subscribed. We'd love for you to be part of the family and become part of the magic that is the paranormal world. or well, we call it magic, but it might be something else. But we'd love to have you stick around and become a part of it. So, and please like the stream if you would, please. That helps us a ton. And feel free to share these streams. That helps us even more.
Yes, it does.
So, Brent and Don, thanks, guys, for the great show. Absolutely, Mr. Titan.
Our pleasure, buddy.
Our pleasure, sir. And thank you to all of you, all 80-some people that have been in here tonight. That was a great crowd. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for showing up and supporting what we're doing. And I'll be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors. So then I'll be back on Friday night and Saturday night. Don will be back with me. So there's a full boat of fun right here on the Paranormal Portal.
A whole boatload.
Don, anything in closing?
That makes us in a relationship.
Yeah. Anything else in closing?
Teespring? Always Teespring.
Teespring, check the link.
Get your gear there.
Absolutely. Check the link in the description if you want to check out some Paranormal Portal gear and help us even more. But we appreciate any help and at all that you're willing to give us. But anyway, thanks for being a part of the journey. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Love you guys. Have a great night.
Good night.
See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll meet you here. Good night.